When sociopaths target you for romantic exploitation, it seems that their favorite term of endearment is soulmate. So, should you believe them? I'm Donna Andersen, author of lovefraud.com and also author of the book Red Flags of Love Fraud: 10 Signs You're Dating a Sociopath. Everyone needs to know the red flags, so I'm reviewing them in this series of videos. Okay, let's get started. When sociopaths target you, they gush about finding the man or woman of their dreams, the person they've been waiting for all their lives. They talk about destiny, how the relationship was meant to be. If you're religious, sociopaths smoothly proclaim that God has brought you together. You are soulmates. Plenty of people have experienced this, and I write all about it in my book, Red Flags of Love Fraud: 10 Signs You're Dating a Sociopath. To gather data for my book, I conducted the Love Fraud Romantic Partner Survey. A total of 1,352 people responded. 64% of them agreed with the statement that the individual said we were soulmates. I was the person he or she was waiting for. Unfortunately, the respondents eventually learned that the words were spoken only to seduce them. One woman, whom I called Diane in the book, was in her 30s with 4 children and going through a difficult divorce. She met a man whom I called Steve on the internet. Steve had held his job for 25 years and had custody of his 2 children. Therefore, Diane felt that he was reliable and dependable. Diane said he quickly homed in on their likenesses, insisting that they were soulmates and were destined to be together. Steve acted as though he were a stand-up guy. He said their love would conquer all, and she would never have to worry about anything. They married, but eventually Diane learned that Steve was secretly into pornography and was cheating on her. Their relationship changed for the worse when Diane took a step back and saw what he was really all about. Once Steve knew that she was onto him, it was over. His true identity kicked in, and he was out to destroy her completely. Diane discovered that Steve was committing massive fraud and turned the information over to the authorities. She herself lost more than $50,000, incurred debt, and had a lawsuit filed against her. So, why do sociopaths like Steve seem, in the beginning, to be your soulmate? Because they are chameleons. When sociopaths target you for seduction, they figure out what you are looking for and then make themselves into that person. It often works. In the Love Fraud survey, 79% of respondents agreed with the statement. In the beginning, the individual seemed to have so much in common with me. Also, 83% agreed that in the beginning, the individual seemed to share my values. One woman, whom I called Shelley, described a relationship with a man whom I called Mark. She said they enjoyed the same activities, shared similar stories and feelings, and seemed to have the same perspectives on life and love. They married, but by the end of the first year, Mark was verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive. He punched holes in walls and broke anything meaningful to Shelley. Shelley endured abuse and threats to her life. After many loud, screaming fights with a man who once seemed to be her perfect mate, Shelley made the final break. She lost her home and more than $100,000. So, how did Mark know what Shelley wanted? How does any sociopath figure out what we want? It's really quite simple. They ask us, and then listen carefully to our responses. Most of us interpret their attentiveness to mean that our new romantic partners are totally fascinated with us. Believing that we are building a lasting connection, we willingly share our deepest desires. In the Love Fraud Romantic Partner Survey, 56% of respondents agreed that the individual asked about my hopes and dreams and then promised to make them come true. But what sociopaths are really doing is interrogating us to discover our vulnerabilities. Then they use the information as ammunition to take down our defenses. Sudden soulmates is the second red flag of love fraud. But just because you hear the words soulmate, it doesn't automatically mean that the person who says them is a sociopath. Sociopathy is a syndrome, which means it's a group of symptoms and behaviors that tend to cluster together. I identified 10 red flags of love fraud, and someone needs to exhibit pretty much the entire pattern to be considered a sociopath. The key for you is to see what you see. If you notice behaviors that cause you to sit up and say, "Huh? What was that?" Pay attention. You may have just seen a red flag. So look for other ones and don't make excuses. If most or all of the warning signs are present, ease yourself out of the involvement. To understand how sociopaths hook you and why you fall for it, get my book, Red Flags of Love Fraud. You may also want to get the Red Flags of Love Fraud Workbook, which helps you to figure out why you fell for the scam and how to protect yourself. They're both available in the Love Fraud store. If you need assistance with your escape and recovery, you'll find it at Love Fraud. We have thousands of articles, and we also have webinars by therapists and other experts that will help you. And I am always happy to work with you one-on-one. Just go to lovefraud.com/talk to Donna. We're putting out new content all the time, so please subscribe to this channel, Love Fraud Lessons, to stay up to date. Even after the sociopath, full recovery is possible. Love Fraud is here to help you.